Today, I want to share with you something that has been on my heart and on my mind for a while. I love reading the Bible, and I read Proverbs one chapter per day for the month. And of course, some months have 31 days, 30 days, and February 28 days. But I make adjustments, and every day I read a chapter of Proverbs. One of the chapters, of course, is Proverbs 31, and that chapter has a very intriguing and I think confusing passage. Is called the Proverbs 31 Virtuous Woman or Wife of Noble Character. And so often I hear and see people giving messages about this woman, this wife of noble character, this virtuous woman, this Proverbs 31 wife, as she's called. And the wife of noble character is found in Proverbs chapter 31, verses 10 through 31. This woman is a role model for many Christian women and the desire of many Christian men. However, she's also a construct that we need to break down to understand who she is, her circumstances in her life, and realize that the individual woman of her time and throughout history, and certainly not the modern day woman, was never tasked with that expectation to be this woman. She is an ideal, but her circumstances are such that she is already in a position to be a wife of noble character. Bear with me and I'll explain it. A Christian woman or a married woman who aspires to be like the wife of noble character is setting herself up for failure. The reason is the typical woman does not live under the same circumstances or conditions as the wife of noble character, nor is she married to the same type of man that she's married to. Let me put this out here right now. This is not a feminist perspective. I'm not going on a rant. This is a humanist and a biblical perspective, because what I'm going to show you is in the Bible itself, the wife of noble character has a lifestyle and circumstances that don't apply to most women, again, of her time, throughout history, and certainly not today. So I am married myself. I believe in marriage. I believe in the covenant of marriage. I believe in a husband-wife relationship. I just want us to take the pressure off of unrealistic expectations and stop trying to absorb a biblical passage that never was intended for us as married women, or that married men should have an expectation of a woman who's doing these things as an individual. To understand the circumstances of the wife of noble character found in Proverbs 31, verses 10 to 31, we must work kind of from the end of the passage to the beginning, so we can break down again, her character, her circumstances. Verse 23 gives us our first clue of who the wife of noble character is based on the man to whom she's married. Proverbs 31 verse 23 says, her husband is known at the city gate, where he sits among the elders of the land. The husband of the wife of noble character is a respected elder in the land. In the Bible, elders were men of good standing among the people. They were leaders of their clans. They were members of a royal family, members of the nobility, or they were members of the priesthood. Often it was the king himself who sat at the city gate among the elders. An elder was also a prosperous landowner. Elders had the financial means to devote time to governmental duties rather than working to earn a living. The husband sitting at the city gate as an elder indicates that he, again, is a government official with political power, access to information and resources, and financial success and stability. Sitting at the city gate meant that he would be the first to know when merchants from different ports around the world came to Jerusalem to make trades, to conduct business, for political liaisons, whatever. He was in the midst of power. He was in the midst of financial prosperity. As a leader in the community, he provided for his family and spread his garment of protection over his wife, giving her prestige, dignity, and financial security, and the financial means to be who she was as we continue to explore who she was in this passage. One of the things that I want to say here too is we're going to talk about the financial prosperity of the husband. I'm not saying that women have to marry rich men at the beginning of their marriage, but I am saying that this man was rich. She herself was in a position of having financial security. She wasn't the one who was providing her own financial security. So the next two verses that we're going to look at are verses 21 and 22. They also reveal the status of the wife of noble character. Verse 21 says, "When it snows, she has no fear for her household, for they are all clothed in scarlet." And verse 22 says, "She makes coverings for her bed. Her clothing is fine linen and purple." A family clothed in scarlet and a woman who wears purple and fine linen indicate that these people were members of the nobility. The man is either a king, a member of the royal family, a member of the nobility, or a high-ranking government official. This is just true in the Bible. The working class people, even successful merchants, unless they were just the creme de la creme, men servants and maid servants did not wear clothes dyed with the colors of purple, blue, and scarlet, because the pigments were very costly. I won't get into the science of it, but they, in some cases, had to find little snails with that purple or blue pigment, crush it, and make it from these little bitty snails. And so they had to do it over and over and over again to get enough dye to make a royal garment. So you could imagine that this was a very costly dye to use to dye someone's clothes. The colors of purple, blue, and scarlet signified that a person was of a high social status and a high economic class. So again, saying that this woman's family is clothed in scarlet, that she herself wore linen and purple, shows who she is. She is a member of nobility. She is a royalty. She's royalty. She's a queen, or she's somewhere high up on the court of the queen. So by discerning that the wife of noble character is married to an elder of the land who is royalty, or a nobleman, or priest, we can see that the wife of noble character is not an overworked, bringing home the bacon, frying it up in the pan kind of woman. Neither is she a pampered wife who spends all of her husband's money while never lifting a finger to care for her family. On the contrary, the wife of noble character works hard to increase their wealth through her diligent management of their finances and her own successful business ventures. So she's, of course, as it talks about her selling her sashes and ensuring that her trading is profitable, she's got a level of profitability undergirding her success. Another verse that offers a perspective into the lifestyle of the wife of noble character is verse 15. It says, "She rises while it is still night to provide food for her household and portions for her maidservants." The wife of noble character is not a stay-at-home mom with a bunch of kids hovering around her waiting for their breakfast, lunch, dinner, as she has to do a load of laundry, shop for groceries, clean the house, call the plumber, plant some vegetables, and sell some real estate while sitting at a spinning wheel making clothes and sashes that she intends to sell to some merchants in the marketplace. That's not her lifestyle. That may be our lifestyle because we try to do it all. But go back to verse 15. She had maidservants. The wife of noble character is a boss. She is the chief executive officer of domestic affairs. She conducts her financial empire and her operational affairs by managing a full-time, well-organized staff of servants who do her bidding. She's not the one rising up before dawn to cook and clean. She's not the one who's going out into the garden planting vegetables. She has a staff of people who is doing that for her. She sits and rules her empire like a queen because that's who she is. If she's not a queen herself, she's very close to being one. She's definitely financially secure, financially wealthy, with all of the accoutrements of a very wealthy woman, again, of the royal family or of the nobility or of the priesthood. Imagine a person is a contractor who builds a house. Their name is on the company and someone contracts their company to build the house. But the person who owns the house never does the physical work of constructing any part of the house. Instead, they employ artisans, craftspeople, construction workers technicians to do different parts of the job required to build a house. Some people lay the foundation, some frame the walls, others hang the drywall. There are electricians, plumbers, HVAC technicians, roofers, floor installers, cabinet makers, painters. You get the picture. All these people are involved in building the house, but the contractor gets the credit of being the actual builder, never doing the work himself or herself, but because they are the one who owns the house or owns the company who's building the house, they get the credit for the work that was done to build the house. And so it is with the wife of noble character. She is the contractor of a sort of building her house, and she's the conductor of the affairs of her household. She ensures that everything runs smoothly. She's the one managing the people to do the work for her children, for cooking their meals, for cleaning their castle or their big house, for spinning wool and flax, for gardening and selling the produce, and making and selling clothes and sashes. She's orchestrating this. She may participate, I don't know, but most of the time, women of the nobility weren't the ones with their hands in the flour and the dirt. They were the ones who were, again, directing the staff to do the work that needed to be done. Understanding who this wife of noble character is, we need to understand her circumstances. So when we're making comparisons or stressing ourselves out trying to be like her, we have to be like her. The wife of noble character and her husband are in a marriage covenant that God has joined together. I think that this is the most important part of who she is. She's married to a man whom God has blessed with leadership, financial means, political power. And when a woman and a man are joined in a covenant of marriage by God, in Genesis, it tells us that when God joins a man and a woman who are both male and female as one flesh in a covenant of marriage, the blessings of the marriage covenant leads to them being prosperous, fruitful, and in a position to subdue the earth and rule over his creation. And so this woman and her husband are in a marriage that God has joined together. The couple is mutually beneficial to each other. The husband is the provider for his family. He's the one who is a very wealthy man, who himself is of noble character. He protects and honors his wife, and she manages their money and resources, causing them to continue to prosper. So again, she didn't start out being the one with all the money. And again, I'm not saying that a woman can't be in a position to earn more money than her husband, but this woman didn't. The husband of the wife of noble character provides for her, and because she is of noble character, she honors her husband, and she would also raise their children to honor their parents. The wife of noble character, again, is not the primary breadwinner in the marriage. Her husband is already independently wealthy, and she maximizes their wealth through good stewardship of their finances and by her own business ventures. The wife of noble character is so secure under her husband's garment of protection that she can afford to be generous with her time and resources. From a place of provision and security, she extends her hands to the poor and needy out of the overflow of her bounty. She's, again, not some overworked woman who's running from a job, trying to do charitable work while she's taking care of a house full of children and cooking and cleaning and sewing garments and making sashes and planting gardens and all of that stuff. No individual man or woman can do these things by himself or herself. In this situation, she is already staffed. And in our situation, if we were to try to be like her, we would need a staff. Now, of course, in today's age, we don't have men servants and maid servants, but we would have the ability to employ people and compensate them for their time and their skill and their business acumen, so that as we are conducting the empire to continue building the wealth between the husband and wife, these employees, as we would call them, would be the ones who, again, are responsible for the care. They would be the ones, we would hire somebody to cook, we would hire someone to clean, we would hire someone to even take our children to and from places, we would hire a gardener, we would hire someone who does the sewing or the making of sashes and garments and all of those things. We would have an a company, a corporation. We would have all of these people on our staff, and we would have the financial means to take care of them. In the time of this noble woman, the people living in her household, though they weren't necessarily paid a wage, they were compensated because they had the roof and the meals and everything else provided for them by their household employers. So we'll call them employers. But in our day and age, we would have people who we paid, and they would go out and they would do the things that would be necessary for us to have the lifestyle that the wife of noble character has. Most women today struggle to run their households and care for their families almost single-handedly. Whether working women or stay-at-home mothers, we are overwhelmed by our daily responsibilities. We do the cooking, we do the cleaning, we do the laundry, we chauffeur kids to multiple activities, we run errands, we manage bank accounts, pay bills, do the grocery shopping. You get the picture. And this can leave a woman on a hamster wheel of busyness. We have to sacrifice sleep or sex with our husbands to have enough energy to grind out our day-to-day lives. And even when our husbands try to shoulder the burden with us, we are still understaffed and overworked. This is not the condition that the wife of noble character is in. She is not grinding it out like that. She is managing a staff. I just want you to get that picture. She has a whole staff, a well-organized staff, not one lady who does the cooking or the cleaning once a week or twice a week if we're blessed in situations like that. She has someone who is there with her 24/7, who's running her household, who's conducting her business affairs, who's doing what she tells them to do. Again, this is not a complaint session. It's just a reality check. This is not a feminist rant. It's a humanist perspective. It's a biblical perspective, because what I'm telling you is actually in the Bible. We hear sermons preached about the virtuous woman of Proverbs 31. We see messages on social media offered to encourage us to be like her. Women post videos of their ambitions to be godly wives and live up to the standards of the wife of noble character. And many are overwhelmed and distressed because no matter how hard we try, we can never be a one-person army that successfully carries out all the duties credited to the wife of noble character. And we're not supposed to be that way. Again, if we're not in the circumstances that she is or she was, then we are not expected. And God doesn't expect us to do the things that are credited to her unless we are in those circumstances. That's why the full picture of who she is given to us in those verses of Proverbs 31, 10 through 31. Because if you look at the full picture of who she is, and you compare yourself to who she is and what she has, you would take the pressure off yourself, because you would see that you do not have what she has. You cannot do what she does because you do not have a staff. Most of us do not have a husband who's wealthy enough to give us the financial foundation that she has to work to create the wealth that she continues to create through her business ventures, through her staff that she manages. Many Christian men express their desire to have a woman like the one in Proverbs 31, and I don't blame them. I want one too. Many think that they have the right to expect their wives to fulfill all the obligations carried out by the wife of noble character. But these same husbands are not in a similar position as the wife of noble character's husband to deserve or afford such a wife. It's not a slam. We all work. Most of us work. Some people have good jobs. Some people don't have good jobs. My point is that unless you are in a position of leadership, unless you are almost like, well, the equivalent would be the president of the United States, the vice president of the United States, or the king of your country, or the queen of your country, or the members of parliament, or the high-level members of government who are well compensated, and whose wives are going out and doing the things that make them look good by being on being parts of charities, sitting on boards. They're not at home taking care of the day-to-day grind of a household because somebody else is doing that for them. And so it is with the wife of noble character, because her husband is in a position that affords her this type of lifestyle. Neither the Christian wife nor the Christian husband considers the social standing and financial status of the husband of the wife of noble character. They do not evaluate his ability to provide for his family such that his wife can successfully run their household, see to her family's well-being, maximize their finances, and conduct her affairs, again, with a staff. A lot of times we as young people, when we're first getting married, we might not marry a man with those kinds of means. That's okay. I'm not saying that we shouldn't marry somebody because they can't put us in that position. I'm saying that we can't marry somebody who's not in that position to put us in that position and then have the expectations to conduct ourselves as though we are in that position. She is a queen or a noble woman, not a robot, who rises while it is still night to provide food for her household, as it says in verse 15, and whose lamp does not extinguish at night, as it says in verse 18. This woman is not a sleep-deprived octopus with multiple appendages, enabling her to hold a distaff in one hand and grasp a spindle with another to spin wool, while using every other available appendage to prepare meals, plant vineyards, and sew garments. She has a staff. Just stay with me. So unless and until women are in the same position as the wife of noble character, they should not stress over an ideal standard that is impossible for an individual to measure up to without being undergirded by a husband who occupies an exalted leadership position, possesses exorbitant financial wealth, and has political and social clout. If that's you, you can be a wife of noble character. If your husband is not in a position where he's already wealthy and you do not have the ability to hire your staff and manage a household like she does, then take the pressure off of yourself. Similarly, a man cannot expect a woman to be his wife of noble character if he is not a man who himself is known at the city gate where he sits among the elders of the land. Men who do not occupy high political positions, leadership positions, have stratospheric wealth, social influences, and business connections to make it possible for the woman to operate in that environment. They can't expect to have a woman like the wife of noble character because, again, she wasn't the primary breadwinner for her family. She isn't the one who's going out working every day, busting her behind to provide for her family and still coming home and having to do all the things that women have to do to run their household. She's married to someone who has afforded her a lifestyle. The wife of noble character is more than just a wife, as we know women who are wives today, as we ourselves are wives today. If you're listening to this video, it's not likely that you are a queen, although you could be, hello queen, and you are a queen, but you might not live in a castle, and you might not be married to the king of the land, and you might not be married to a noble person or an elder. I offer this to you as a perspective of who the Proverbs 31 virtuous woman is, who the wife of noble character is. You can be a wife of noble character, but you're not going to have the lifestyle or the ability to have the lifestyle that she had in most circumstances. And it's not something that you need to pressure yourself to do or be. And it's not something that a husband who loves his wife would expect her to do or be unless he himself is in a position to elevate her status and provide for her in the way that the husband of the wife of noble character provides for his wife. I hope this is helpful and a fresh perspective on a beautiful passage that has been woefully misunderstood and I think has caused a lot of stress where it shouldn't have. Bye for now.